6 years ago, plus a couple of weeks, we came to Schenectady for the first time and met your ministerial search committee. It was a brutally cold weekend, and the search committee, made up of Kevin O'Connor, Mike McClory, Eric Dahl, Betsy Bittner, Gary Feinland, Trish Williams, and Melissa McKinnon, were warm beacons of welcome. We spent a lot of time together that weekend, getting to know one another. 3 years ago and a couple of weeks, on March 12th, 2020, we closed the church buildings because COVID-19 had arrived in Albany, and a case was confirmed at Union College, which is just on the next block. None of us had any idea what would unfold, how stressful, lonely, and difficult the next 3 years would be. I don't think we're in post-COVID yet, Jim, though I appreciate the enthusiasm and the hope. But we are certainly making progress and in a better place than we were even a year ago. Depends on we as people are, right? We're not as lonely. You don't think so? Right. Yeah, let's have a conversation about that after the service, because I think that there's a really interesting way to look at that. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. That we as a people are in a better place because we are not as isolated as we were, and that we are not as, what's the word? Maybe lonely, maybe scared as we were that first year, especially. We, as your co-ministers, are so grateful to the Board of Trustees for affirming our sabbatical this year, and to all of the UUSS staff for going above and beyond to support the ministries of the congregation, and for all each of you did to serve this congregation and the wider community. Thank you. Arigato, merci, gracias, danke, mahalo, shukran, thank you. We said in the service that we led on January 8th, over these next 10 weeks of our sabbatical, we will be listening. And we invited you to listen too, to listen to one another, to listen to family and friends, to listen to your heart, and listen for the spirit of community, the spirit of life and love, the spirit of justice and compassion. So we are wondering, what did you hear? What did you learn? How have these past 10 weeks changed you and changed UU Schenectady? We'd love to hear about it if you're willing to share. You could come say hello to us after the service when we stand up there, or perhaps you can write us a note, because unfortunately the email system is still not quite working properly. So you could send us like an old-fashioned letter or something. You could talk to us over coffee or tea in the dining room for folks who feel ready and comfortable to be in that space. And you didn't hear anything? Don't feel like anything changed? Tell us that too. Sometimes dormancy is okay, especially when so much has changed, so much at all at once, that it's okay if sometimes it's just kind of chill for a minute. But we'd like to know, really. During the last 10 weeks, we listened and kept reminding each other and ourselves to keep listening, to keep listening.
This month's theme is sustenance and sustainability. Capitalism would have us believe that we should go, go, go at all costs. And the earth is bearing the brunt of such nonsense. Rest and restoration are deeply important for our well-being. Dormancy and ebullience are a part of the seasons of nature, and we are a part of nature, not apart from it. So we need times of action and reflection, of doing and resting, of starting and ending projects, relationships, habits, all, all of those things have their time to begin, to be, and to end. So during our sabbatical, we made time for rest. We engaged in some deep conversations with one another about the toll that this work sometimes takes on each of us, on our relationship, the toll that holding space can take. And we know that we cannot sustain working 50 to 60 hours each. And that we know that some of you are probably working too much too. Maybe you're worried about your health or your family or your relationships. We hear from some of you sometimes that that is the case. So today we invite all of us to listen to that voice that says, you might need some rest. You might need a little more resilience. And then repeat. Even small shifts can make a difference. That was one of the things that we noticed during this time, was that small shifts can end up having a lovely ripple. How might you make some adjustments to insert a bit more joy in your life or in the lives of those that you care about? Now, while we did put down preparing and leading worship during sabbatical, we did choose to attend several worship services, some in person and some online. Probably not a big surprise, right? We are really nourished by attending worship services, and we love to see what our friends and colleagues are doing and to have our own spiritual journeys nourished. This past Sunday, we attended a service led by Reverend Sherry Halliday Kwan and the religious education professional Sheila Shu and a lay leader at one of the Rochester, New York congregations. The service was really focused on rest. And we were moved to tears hearing on that final Sunday of our sabbatical as they were honoring the arrival of spring and this season of mud, this cusp of dormancy and growth, especially here in upstate New York and some other parts of this country. Reverend Sherry said, "You are of the earth. You are worthy of rest." What a radical thing to say. What a radical thing to do. We invite you to join us in a radical act and turn towards someone near you and say, "You're worthy of rest.
You're worthy.
You're worthy of rest." Awesome. Awesome. Now maybe pick someone else and say it. You're worthy of rest. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Catch someone's eye who's maybe a little further away and you might need to say it a little louder. "Hey, you're worthy of rest." And then maybe find someone who you might just say it really gently to. Sometimes we need that gentle reminder. You're worthy of rest. Yeah. And we can end by placing our hands on our hearts, on our own sweet selves, to say, "I am worthy of rest." Go ahead. I am worthy of rest. I am worthy of rest.
One of the texts that we explored was Sharon Salzberg's book, Real Change, Mindfulness to Heal Ourselves and the World. Sharon Salzberg has a wonderful insight meditation society in Massachusetts and is a longtime leader of meditation, insight meditation for many decades now. And the meditation practice that I invite us into together this morning will be familiar to any of you who have ever practiced or read about meditation. And there are some ways in which she languages the invitation that I just thought were just so precious, sweet in a way, particularly because we spend so much of our time being, well, often overprogrammed, overscheduled, maybe doing too many things, trying to multitask, worrying about this, that, and the other thing, and that there is just some invitations that she offered that I hope you also find sweet or precious. She writes about the importance of being able to take a few moments to ground and center ourselves, not just for the daily tasks of living, but for the protests, for the delivery of a meal to a loved one or a friend. That taking that moment to just focus is part of the work of being human and the joy of being alive. And we're expected to just go and keep going and be distracted. And, oh, I'm going to go on my phone because I have to wait in this line for 30 seconds. And she says, maybe we could do this instead. So you're just invited to just focus on your breath, just noticing it as it comes and goes, not trying to change it. Just notice this amazing thing that our body most of the time just does. And that most of the time we don't pay much attention to it. Just being present with what is. And if you're noticing some part of you is not particularly comfortable, maybe you need to shift in your seat, that's okay to do. Perhaps you might close your eyes or turn your gaze softly towards the floor, whatever feels most comfortable to you. And as you're breathing, see if you can notice where the breath is most present, most predominant. Is it in your nostrils? Is it at your chest or maybe in your belly or abdomen? And maybe just rest your attention lightly in that area, wherever the breath is most prominent. If you're with the breath at the nostrils, maybe you sense tingling or vibration or warmth or coolness. If your abdomen, maybe it's movement, pressure, stretching, release. You don't have to come up with names, just be present to the sensations as they arise. And if images or sounds, emotions, other sensations arise, but they're not strong enough to actually take you away from the feeling of the breath, just let them flow on by. You don't have to follow after them. And you don't have to attack them. You're just here breathing. She says, it's like seeing a friend in a crowd. You don't have to shove everyone else aside or make them go away. But your enthusiasm, your interest is going toward your friend. Oh, there's my friend. There's the breath. When something arises that is strong enough to take your attention away from the feeling of the breath, or perhaps you or your neighbor have fallen asleep, Or if you get lost in some incredible fantasy, see if you can just let that go and begin again, bringing your attention back to the breath. And if you have to let go and begin again thousands of times, that's fine. That's the practice. Perhaps you are listening or noticing that breath. Maybe it's changing in depth or length. Maybe it's staying exactly the same. Just allowing it to be however it is. And if anything else arises, you can just bring your attention back, just shepherd it right on back to the feeling of that breath. Remember that in letting go of distraction, the important word is gentle. We can gently let go. We can forgive ourselves for having wandered. And with great kindness to ourselves, we can begin again. Deep peace of the rolling waves to you. Deep peace of the silent stars. Deep peace of the blowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth. Let peace, let peace, let peace fill your soul. May peace, may peace, may peace keep you whole. As we mentioned earlier, over the past 10 weeks, we were able to visit or connect with some beloved colleagues. Of course, not nearly all that we may have, but we were trying to resist the urge to fill our days so much that we didn't have the space to listen. But one morning, we brought Luna, our small, shy dog, on a hike in Fremont, California. There was snow on the top of those mountains, a sight not seen for decades. And we were reminded of a practice by our hiking companions, the now retired co ministry team of Reverends Barbara and Bill Hamilton Hallway. We adapted the practice that they shared with us so that it fit a bit better for us. Since that morning, each day, one of us reads a poem aloud and then chooses a line from the poem, and then we spend 10 minutes writing. We might write a poem in response to that line or just a few thoughts, some prose. We listen to see what comes out, what wants to be put on the page, and then we share those things with each other. It's not about how great we can write or trying to produce something.
It's leaning into curiosity and a chance to connect with one another. What does this line inspire from me on this day? What might it inspire from you? As we engaged this practice in San Jose, California, in the desert of the Borrego Springs outside of San Diego, in Arizona and New Mexico, in Arkansas and Tennessee, in Virginia, and then here in New York, our adventures and winding road influenced what we wrote about. The super bloom of desert flowers in Anza Borrego, because of all those rains that California is getting, inspired certain kinds of imagery. The petrified forest and painted desert of Arizona, the incredible buttes of New Mexico, so much other beauty as we made our way east. This morning, we invite you into this practice of listening and responding with us this morning. If you're here on Zoom, we invite you to get something to write with and a piece of paper. If you're here and you didn't receive one on your way in, you can raise your hand and the ushers will make sure that you have what you need. We're going to share a poem with you, and then we'll set a timer and just 5 minutes today to just give you a taste of what that's like. And remember, this is not a competition. No, not at all. This is not about being good enough. Unitarianism already asserts that you are good. And universalism already assumes that you are enough. So there you are. Just notice the thoughts that come up and you can let them go as in the meditation, or you can write them down. You don't have to follow everything. And should we go ahead and jump into the poem?
Well, yes, in just a second. I think it's important to name that this might be terrifying to some of you in the circle right now.
Good point.
Maybe writing is not something that you maybe like to do, or you think maybe you're not good at it. And that's an even bigger opportunity to do the practice. Because this isn't about being good at it. It's not even about liking it. It's just allowing whatever to come up to come up. And you might surprise yourself. Who knows?
And there's a bulletin board just past the coat closet that is waiting for anything that you would like to post there that you write in response today.
Yep.
Okay.
And
because part of the practice is also being amazed. We were amazed at the diversity of beauty across this country.
mm-hmm.
Likewise, there is so much beauty right here. And all of the responses that come out today will be different. And it's really fun and interesting to see what those are.
Yep. And we name this in particularly, not just because of maybe some of you are like, I don't want to write, but to also counter some of the stuff that's happening in the larger world right now. We've now lost count of how many legislatures in how many states are actively working to pass anti-queer and anti-transgender bills. And how much work there is for us as Unitarian Universalists who affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every single person. And it's not always about marching at the Capitol or signing a petition, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's taking our next breath and being grateful for it. Sometimes it's seeing or being seen for our humanity. And sometimes it's putting away that little grumbly voice that tries to undermine our own self worth and just says, "Not today, Satan." To just be present and listen and be amazed by your own awesomeness.
Our poem today is Kindness by Rosemary Watola Trummer. Consider the tulip. How long ago someone's hands planted a bulb and gave to this place a living scrap of beauty. How it rises every spring out of the same soil, which is, of course, not at all the same soil, but new. Consider the 6 red petals, the yellow at the center, the soft green rubber of the stem, how it bows to the world, how the longer you sit beside the tulip, the more you want to bow too. It is this way with kindness. Someone plants it in someone else, a bit of beauty, a kind word perhaps, or a touch, the gift of their time or their smile. And years later, in that inner soil, that beauty emerges again, pushing aside the dead leaves, insisting on loveliness, a celebration of the one who planted it, the one who perceives it, and the fertile soil where it has grown. And from this poem, we invite you to particularly respond to the line, a celebration of the one who planted it. A celebration of the one who planted it.
Hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes. Thank you for that time together.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. I see some blank looks. I see some smiles. I see some thumbs up. I see some, well, it's over now sort of looks. Yep. All that. All that. It's like traveling with an amaryllis. You just watch to see what happens. Rest, resilience, repeat. There will be multiple learnings from our sabbatical that we will be sharing over the next few weeks. Today, we invite you to lean into rest and into joy. Make a tiny bit of time, even just 1 minute of mindful breathing, or a few minutes of responsive writing to something lovely, something interesting, can increase your resilience. Repeat as often as you can, because you matter and you are worthy of rest. Joy matters, and you are definitely worthy of joy. We hope to see you on Saturday for the joy extravaganza of this spiritual home, this community that hopefully offers sustenance to you and your family and will be here for those in need. A place where we can sing to the power of faith, hope, love, and joy together.